What's crack-a-lackin', friends and family? Today we're doing a deck review of the David Blaine Stoic playing cards. Alright guys, I know a deck review could get a tad bit boring, so we're going to keep this as fast and as quick paced as possible while still giving you all the information that you'd want to know about this here deck of playing cards. So buckle up, strap in.
Seatbelts, everyone!
Because we're going to go over the design, the handling, the feel, and the price, and all the features you could ever want to know about this deck of cards by David Blaine. So let's get into it. Speed. I am speed. Okay, so design. We're gonna start off with the tuck box, which is a beautiful matte white, and it's got this red, reflective, metallic hearts and diamonds on it. It's got an embossed David Blaine logo on the back. It says Stoics. You got the David Blaine back design on the front of the box, and it's a pretty great box. I dig it. It's white, matte white, and I really like matte things that aren't reflective, so I dig the box. Moving on. The design of the cards. Now the cards are very, very minimal. It's just David Blaine's logo mirrored, and you got a nice little black border. These cards remind me a lot of the Knox, you know, the cards that are just as minimal as possible. They're kind of like the David Blaine Knox. Now when it comes to the faces, he switched things up a little bit. These are kind of old school looking Arco faces. Now I dig this a lot because when people make custom decks, sometimes they just slap on those classic United States Playing Card Company faces, which is good and all, because if this ain't broke, don't fix it. But if you're making a custom deck, why not switch it up a little bit? You know what I'm saying, guys? Yeah, so that's what the design looks like. I'll play a little clip right now so you can just see how they all look like to make sure that when you get them, you're not surprised at anything. This is how they look like right here. This video. This is what the cards look like in hand. No enhancements. This is exactly what the cards look like. Okay, I'm taking way too long on this. Moving on to handling and feel. Alright, so handling and feel. You might remember in design I talked about, wow, these remind me of Knox because of how minimal they are. If you were to blindfold me and put these cards in my hand, I would say, you know what? These are Knox. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're expert playing card, but they're a little bit stiffer, a little bit thicker, and they feel a little bit more durable, and the slickness that they have just reminds me so much of Knox. And I really like Knox, so I actually really like the feel of this deck. Alright, features. Now, this deck was created by one of the best magicians of our time, so he couldn't release some boring old normal deck of cards. No, it's got to have features for us magicians, and that's one of the most important things that you can know about this deck. It's not made for cardists, it's not made for someone casual just trying to play a card game. This deck is made for magicians. Now, I know this deck was made for magicians because it's a stripper deck. Now, I feel like me saying stripper might demonetize this video because it could be referring to a certain profession, but no, this is a deck of playing cards as a stripper deck. Lots of you guys probably know what that is, but for those who don't, a stripper deck is a deck that's tapered. So when the deck is cut, it's not symmetrical in width on both sides. One side is cut a little bit thinner in the back. So that way, if you take a card out and a spectator takes a card out and you put it in backwards, it's like a one-way deck. And as you can see in this video demonstration, when the card is put in the wrong way, it has a little bit of a stick out on the side of the deck when the deck is squared. Now what makes stripper decks great is this little nick. You can pull out the card, you can use it to control the card in a much easier fashion, and the little taper is so small that no one's gonna see it. You know, I mean, the spectator's not gonna be like, oh, that card's sticking out. It's very minimal. You just slide your fingers across it, you can pull them out that way, or there's lots of pretty awesome sleights you can learn that do involve a stripper deck. And there's lots of tricks that, you know, couldn't be possible with a normal deck of cards that you can do with a stripper deck. I mean, I don't really use a stripper deck that much in my personal day-to-day life. That's just because I know a lot of card controls that can kind of replicate what a stripper deck can do. But like I said before, what's great about a stripper deck is you don't have to use it. It's just a feature, right? It's just a feature. You can just do your tricks normally with this deck, or you can use that extra fail-safe, or you can do those awesome stripper deck tricks that I was talking about. What this deck also does is it takes the feel of a stripper deck and kind of replicates it with your eye sockets. I didn't really notice this when I first opened up the deck, but one of my friends, Tanner, figured it out. Basically, the pips are thicker. The ink is thicker on one end of the card. So if you go through the deck, you'll see that one side of the card, just like one side of the deck is thinner with the stripper deck, visually on each side of the cards, one of the pips is gonna be thicker. That way, when they're all in order, if the spectator picks a card and you put it back in reverse, not only will the stripper deck thing work, but you can visually spread through the cards and you're able to see all the thick ones and then the one thin one, or all the thin ones and the one thick one. Thick with 2 C's, just like my boy Thanos. So that's a pretty cool feature for Magic. So you got the stripper deck, you got the one-way pip design. Also, the Queen of Spades has a 3 of Diamonds reveal, so you can use that when you're forcing people cards and things of that nature. Oh, and when I say this deck was made for Magic, it literally is. It comes right out of the box, made for Magic. When you open a brand new deck, the deck's gonna be pretty much in Monica stack. Monica stack, or the Monica stack. All right, it's gonna be in that stack that starts with an M and has an N afterwards. Since it's like that brand new, you could bring it to a gig, you got an extra deck, and do a show-stopping trick that involves a sealed deck of cards. So that's pretty cool. It's really made for Magic right out of the box, pun intended. I don't know if that was a pun by me or by David Blaine, but it's a pun, and who doesn't like puns? Thumbs up this video for puns. Now let's go back to handling really quick for just a second, okay? Now David Blaine did tweet out a few times that this deck was made with the Jerry's Nuggets finish. Now, as you guys know, Jerry's Nuggets is one of the most popular decks of all time and one of the most expensive decks because of its rarity at this point, and what made it so popular is its finish. Now, I've only handled a Jerry's Nugget deck once, and it was like 5 years ago, so I can't really speak to if it matches up to that, but I do like the handling a lot because it's like Knox. Now, the handling is important in cardistry for one reason here. This is a stripper deck, right? So can you do all your flourishes that you normally do? Perfectly fine. Yes, the deck is a good handling deck. You can do your fans, you can do your riffle fans, pressure fans, all that jazz. But you have to keep in mind when you're doing packet cuts, you might mess up the stripper deck orientation with when your flourish closes. Now to me, this was no big deal because it's so easy to get it back in the one-way direction by doing the stripper deck thing a couple times by just, caressing the side of the deck. In fact, if you actually were to take the deck and shuffle it into each other the wrong way, all it takes is a few times to get it back. I mean, it's not like you're gonna mess it up like you would mess up an invisible deck if you shuffled it. So that can hinder your cardistry if you like the smooth sides, but in my experience, you can do all your flourishes normally, and you could just perform Magic normally without worrying about the stripper deck that could be even which way, and you could still do your slides like a pinky count. It really doesn't affect you that much. It's more of just an added feature. Almost done. All right, guys, pricing and value now. David Blaine did price this deck pretty reasonably, in my opinion, when you consider that lots of decks that come out that are just different back designs and the same faces without any features, they sell for like $20 now. Like, people will release a deck and they'll sell for $20. I don't get it, but supply, demand, all that economic stuff, I'm almost done with school, so I don't want to think about that anymore. But I think this deck can basically range depending on how many you buy, because basically on his website, the more you buy, the less it costs, right? So that's the review, guys. That's the David Blaine Stoics. If you like this review, you like the cool B-roll, you like the fancy stuff, man, that's all we do on this channel. We do cool things at a high quality. So if you like high quality things, if you're a high quality person, why don't you thumbs up this video and hit the subscribe button. And if you hit the subscribe button, you may as well turn on post notifications, because subscribing does absolutely nothing besides make a number go up. You don't actually see our videos. They just go into nowhere, and then, if you get post notifications, you get the little beep on your iPhone, and it's like, Rise Magic upload a video, and you're like, yo, sick, bro, I'll watch that in 6 days. Or right now. Shout out to the notification squad. All right, guys, I'm gonna go now because I'm really butchering this ending. Peace out.